I knew something was off when strangers started slowing down in front of my house. At first, I thought it was just curious neighbors, maybe folks checking out my new truck. But when a man I didn't recognize called me by my full name, middle name included, I felt that chill you only get when something's gone terribly wrong. I'm Alex Turner, a quiet guy who mostly keeps to himself. I moved into Maple Ridge Estates 2 years ago, a gated suburban paradise with an HOA that could make the IRS look gentle. The president, Patricia Hendress, known around here as Karen, Supreme, had been on my back since day one. My lawn height, my porch light, even the color of my recycling bins, everything was somehow a violation. But lately, her obsession had crossed into something darker. One night, around 2 a.m., I heard my phone buzzing non-stop. My inbox was flooded with hate mail, threats, insults, even pictures of my home. My address, private email, and personal info had been plastered across a local Facebook group called Keep Maple Ridge Safe. And guess whose name was at the top of every angry post? Patricia Hendress. The messages called me a dangerous outsider, rule breaker, even a potential felon, all because I'd refused to repaint my mailbox beige. Within hours, my privacy was gone. People took photos of my yard. Others yelled at me to move out. Someone even threw eggs at my garage door. I reported the posts to Facebook, but the group kept reappearing under new names. Same people, same words, same photos. That's when I decided to dig deeper. I reached out to a friend of mine, Jake, a local IT specialist who worked with the county sheriff's office. He took one look at the screenshots I'd saved and said, if she's dumb enough to post that from her own laptop, we can trace it. 3 days later, Jake called back, his voice somewhere between laughter and disbelief. Alex, you're gonna love this. The IP address from every one of those posts leads straight to Patricia's house. I didn't know whether to laugh or get angry. Patricia hadn't just violated HOA ethics. She'd broken the law. The same woman who fined me for a non-regulation. Mailbox had just committed online harassment and doxing. So I called the police. And when the officers arrived the next morning, I followed them, recording everything. Patricia opened her door with that usual smug grin until one of the officers said, "Ma'am, we have a warrant to inspect your computer." Her smile vanished. Patricia's smirk dissolved the moment the officer stepped past her welcome mat. She tried to laugh it off, claiming it was a mix-up, but the police weren't buying it. They had a digital warrant and a report number. Every post, every message, every re-upload of my address had been traced directly to her home network. I stood on the curb, filming the entire scene, careful not to interfere. Neighbors peeked through blinds like kids watching a scandalous movie. Patricia's husband, a quiet man named Larry, stood frozen on the porch, gripping his coffee cup so tightly his knuckles went white. When the officers started carrying out her laptop, a tablet, and an external hard drive, Patricia snapped. "This is harassment!" she shouted. "He's lying. I don't even know how to use half those apps." One officer calmly replied, "Then maybe you shouldn't have posted on them." That line nearly broke the neighborhood's tension. Some people even chuckled under their breath. Patricia turned red, glaring daggers at me like I was the criminal. The cops spent nearly 2 hours inside. When they finally came out, one of them, Officer Daniels, came over to talk to me. "Mr. Turner," he said, "we've secured enough evidence to move forward. The IP logs are consistent, and her devices show multiple login sessions to that group. We'll submit everything to the cyber unit." Hearing that made my stomach twist. Part relief, part disbelief. Patricia, the queen of the HOA, had been caught red-handed, doing the very thing she accused others of, breaking the rules. But this wasn't just about me anymore. Once word spread, other neighbors came forward. One said she'd been cyber-bullied by Patricia for having too many lawn ornaments. Another said Patricia used burner accounts to shame people for violating the HOA's community image. I realized then this wasn't personal. It was power. Patricia had built a digital empire of fear, and I just pulled the plug. Later that night, I sat on my porch as police cars left the cul-de-sac. The street was eerily quiet. Then, my phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. It read, "You shouldn't have gone to the cops, Alex." No name, no number. Just that. I showed it to Jake, who frowned and said, "That message came from an encrypted app. But don't worry, we'll trace this one too." I leaned back, staring at Patricia's dark house across the street. The game wasn't over. She was still playing. By the next morning, Maple Ridge Estates was buzzing like a hornet's nest. Word spread faster than wildfire. Patricia Hendris, the all-powerful HOA president, had been raided by police. Her laptop confiscated, her phone taken, her spotless reputation cracked wide open. Neighbors who once trembled at her clipboard now whispered openly about her hypocrisy. I caught snippets as I walked my dog that morning. Can you believe she did that? She posted his address? That's a felony. I heard her laptop was full of fake accounts. Patricia didn't show her face for 2 days. The once perfectly pruned shrubs around her house now looked neglected, and her prized "Welcome to Maple Ridge" sign was mysteriously gone. But I knew it wasn't over. Not with that anonymous message still in my phone. Jake had been digging nonstop. He called me the next evening, excitement in his voice. "Alex, I traced that message. You'll never guess. It came from Patricia's laptop, too. Sent through a VPN she didn't configure right." I let out a laugh I'd been holding in for days. So she tried to threaten me using the same device under investigation? Exactly. She's toast, Jake said. The next morning, 2 unmarked cars rolled back into the neighborhood. The officers returned with a warrant, this time for harassment and intimidation. Patricia's meltdown was legendary. She screamed about witch hunts and bias against the HOA. Her husband stood silent, eyes down, as the officers led her out in handcuffs. But the damage wasn't confined to her front porch. The HOA board called an emergency meeting that evening. I went, curious to see who'd step up to clean the mess. The room was full, but the energy was tense. Nobody wanted to defend her. Finally, one of the board members, a mild guy named Paul, spoke up. "I think it's time we admit Patricia abused her position. She didn't protect this community, she terrorized it." A motion passed unanimously to remove her as president. The crowd clapped. Some people even cheered. For the first time since I'd moved there, Maple Ridge didn't feel suffocating. But as I drove home, that relief was short-lived. My porch light flickered on its own, twice. When I checked the footage from my security camera, I froze. Someone had been standing at the edge of my driveway around midnight, hooded, still, just watching. And when I zoomed in on the reflection from their phone screen, it wasn't Patricia. The figure in the footage wasn't Patricia, but I recognized the shape of that phone case. It was glossy navy blue, the same one Larry, her husband, carried everywhere. The next morning, I didn't waste a second. I sent the clip to Jake, who enhanced it frame by frame until there was no doubt. It was Larry, standing on my property the night before his wife's arrest, staring straight at my front window. Jake exhaled sharply. "Looks like Patricia wasn't working alone, buddy." That's when everything started clicking into place. The hate posts, the burner accounts, the sudden anonymous threats. Patricia was bold, but not tech-savvy. Larry, on the other hand, had been an IT contractor before retirement. She might have been the face, but he was the hand behind the keyboard. I called Officer Daniels immediately, forwarding the footage and timestamps. He said they'd add it to the case file. If we can prove he helped her post or send messages, he's just as liable. Within 24 hours, the police returned, again, to the Hendris home. Larry didn't resist. He walked out calmly, wearing that same navy jacket, holding a folded piece of paper. Later, I found out it was a written confession. He admitted to assisting his wife out of loyalty, claiming he didn't realize it would go that far. But the digital trail told a different story. It was Larry's encrypted accounts that shared my address. His devices logged into Patricia's Facebook group minutes before each post went live. He'd even been the one to take the original photos of my property. The case blew up locally. News outlets ran the story. HOA couple charged in cyber harassment. Scandal. Reporters lined the sidewalks for interviews. Suddenly, everyone knew how the so-called moral guardians of Maple Ridge had been using HOA power for personal revenge. When Patricia was released on bail, she avoided me completely. Her head hung low when she came to collect mail, her perfect image in ruins. The HOA replaced her sign, repainted the entrance, and started revising bylaws to prevent another digital dictatorship. A month later, I got one last call from Officer Daniels. "Just thought you'd like to know," he said. Case closed. Both pleaded guilty. Community service, restraining orders, full online ban. I stood on my porch that night, watching the calm streetlights flicker on. For the first time, no one slowed in front of my house. No one whispered my name online. And my mailbox was still bright blue, non-compliant and proud. Patricia once tried to control an entire neighborhood. Now, she couldn't even control her own Wi-Fi. What would you have done if this happened to you? Drop your answer in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more wild HOA stories.